Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for the opportunity to chat to you all. I'll be speaking to you today about Peak Iron Mines' Hawks Nest Iron Ore Project. All right, Peak Iron Mines, their operations are predominantly located there in the Cooper Pedy region. As you can see from this image, we've got the Peculiar Knob mine and the Hawks Nest exploration tenement, and within that consists the Hawks Nest hematite buzzer project and Hawks Nest magnetite, which is a conglomerate of magnetite assets. The unique thing about these operations is they're located in the Department of Defence Woomera prohibited area, so we work very closely with them in order to comply in bringing people to site and in operating there. So Woomera's got the ability to put a halt to operations when they're undertaking activities in the region, so we work very closely with them to make sure that we minimise any risk in continuity to our operations. And just a bit of a snapshot of our supply chain. Those two sites will feed by iron ore by road to the rail facility and then down to the port of Whyalla for export. So a bit about Peak Iron Mines and the history. So Peak Iron Mines is a private company. It was formed out of the acquisition of some assets by Arium, predominantly the Peculiar Knob mine and the Hawks Nest project, and that happened in 2019. From there, the Peculiar Knob mine was an iron ore mine that was mothballed, so Peak Iron were able to kick that back into gear and were able to achieve some easy wins by reclaiming and reprocessing some iron ore stocks currently on site and putting that through the logistics chain by rail and then shipping that initially out of the port of Port Adelaide. Soon after that, Peak Iron recommenced full mining operations at Peculiar Knob, and that started at a run rate of around about 1.5 million tonnes per annum and then was put through the port of Whyalla. Once Peak Iron returned Peculiar Knob operations to a steady state, it turned its focus then onto the Buzzard project, which is the first of the deposits within the Hawks Nest tenement, and started undertaking study work on that. That consisted of Department of Defence approvals, native title, landholder agreements. And then in 2022, a mining lease was granted around the Buzzard asset, which is a 15 million tonne iron ore hematite mine grading at 61% iron. After that, Peak Iron moved to start construction of our Windy Valley camp, which accommodates 176 people, and that was placed in an existing approval footprint that was owned by Arium, so that led for a pretty seamless startup. And then the last 12 months in 2023, we've been pretty busy at Hawks Nest, just undertaking preliminary earthworks for the Buzzard iron ore, constructing offices, drilling groundwater bores and things like that, all in preparation for full-scale mining to commence at the start of 2024. Just a snapshot of the Peak Iron assets. So you can see there, Peculiar Knob mine. It's a pretty cracking iron ore asset, 63.5% iron ore. So that was basically half mined when it was mothballed. So Peak Iron were able to just crack that up and get it going pretty easily. There's also a private haul road that runs from the Peculiar Knob mine all the way to the Tarcoola to Darwin rail, and that is 95 kilometres by bitumen. There's also the Wirrada rail loop, which is capable of accommodating trains up to 10,000 tonnes, and that's a snapshot of the Windy Valley camp that we constructed in the last 12 months, and that was placed in an existing approval footprint. All right, over to the Hawks Nest project. So that image there sort of outlines where the Hawks Nest exploration tenement spans. It goes a little bit further than that image, but you can see from those aeromagnetics overlaid that there's some pretty interesting magnetics in that area, and there's a group of deposits all through there that are really interesting and highly prospective. So that area sits about 125 kilometres from Cooper Pedy along the Stuart Highway. You can actually see the Stuart Highway on the edge of the mining lease there. So it's it's pretty convenient and easy to access our supply chain. The tenement's located in the Gawler Craton, and it has, as you can see from that magnetics, a northeast magnetic anomaly that spans about 25 kilometres in length. So it was quite noticeable. And it's located on a pretty prominent linear feature known as the Borgonya Shear Zone. So that blue box around the Buzzard asset there, that's our mining lease that was granted. There's a deposit off to the side of that tui, but I won't talk too much about that. So I'll chat about Buzzard and Kestrel and Kite, which are of primary interest to us at the moment. Probably the key thing there is we've got written up there that there's an exploration target of 1.4 billion tonnes of iron ore, which is a pretty bold statement, but I think you'll see from this next slide, although Peak Iron have only owned the asset for a short period of time, there's been a considerable amount of work and drilling done over the years, which started out in the 90s. There's probably some people here that have been involved with the companies on the screen that might know a bit about it, but to date there's been about 90,000 metres of all different types of drilling undertaken over the exploration tenement. Companies like Arium and Western Plain Resources spent considerable investment drilling out the asset. And Peak Iron to date, over the last sort of 12 to 18 months, have undertaken about 10,000 metres of exploration drilling, which has primarily been focused in the west there at the Kite deposit. You can see there from the Buzzard asset that about 2/5 of the drilling has been done there, and that was the primary focus to get that operational. And now we're starting to transition our focus further to the west into some of the magnetite. So there's already a significant, based on this drilling, a significant iron ore magnetite resource of approximately 500 million tonnes, grading at about 35%, 36% iron. All right, just a snapshot of those key assets that we have. So the Buzzard hematite mine, as I said, that'll come into production in January next year. That's a 15 million tonne, 61% hematite iron ore mine. It occurs as a brecciated and secondary enriched BIF. Preliminary earthworks have already started on that in the last 12 months, as you can see from that photo. Constructing infrastructure pads, offices, things like that, and that all will feed directly into our supply chain via road up the Stuart Highway, then on private haul road across to the rail and down to the Port of Whyalla. The next sort of focus is, well, we have the two magnetite deposits. Our focus is transition at the moment is around the Kite magnetite. There was some pretty appealing historical drill data, so we decided to drill that last year, and out of that drilling, that RC drilling we did, delineated 130 million tonne magnetite resource grading at 35%. But the important thing for us within that, it also delineated highly DSO potential with 7 million tonnes grading at 58% iron from enriched massive magnetite, and that photo of the drill core shows that, and that piece of core actually grades at 67% iron, so it's pretty exciting and some pretty phenomenal drill results. And just in the last couple, this last month, we've just finished another round of drilling, 4,000 metres of RC and 500 metres of diamond in that asset, and it's all looking very promising, and the focus of that's been to expand on the BIF mineralisation and those enriched DSO sort of sections. The other asset, Kestrel magnetite, there's been also significant amount of work put into that by previous companies over the years. That actually has a 230 million tonne resource over it, grading at 36.5%, of which 145 million tonnes is at an indicated stage. So that's had significant drilling at a spacing of 50 metres by 100 metres, all down to 130 metres of depth, and all the drill holes end in mineralisation. So it's open, down dip and along strike. So as we had the drills out there the past month, we took the view that why not put some deep holes in there and see what's really there. So we drilled 2 deep holes, and both of those drill holes continued in consistent magnetite mineralisation down to 320 metres. So there's a pretty strong case that will expand that resource quite considerably. All right, this is the Buzzard mine site, the hematite iron ore asset, which will start next year. I'll just give you guys a bit of a tour of it. Some of this imagery is a couple months old, but you can see we've created all infrastructure pads, a ROM facility, stockyards, there's offices, we've cleared critical areas, all our mining roads, access roads are being created, and that's been done out of stage 1 pit. This has all been free dug and undertaken with scrapers on site, so there hasn't been any drill and blast yet, but the site's all prepped and ready to start full-scale mining in the next couple months. So the pits, that's our stage 1 pits, progressed down about 5 metres. There's water for dust suppression, turkey's nests, and everything we need to get going. I'll just show you the pit. That's the 15 million tonne pit. That green area is the ore body, the contour of the block model of everything above 50%. That's the brecciated hematite. It's bounded on the eastern side by hematite BIF and the western side by a shale. That pit design there extends about 200 metres deep, and the ore body sits about 15 metres below the natural surface there. You can see some of that ore extends outside the pit. There's another deposit, the Tui pit, but I won't chat about that too much today. So the purple contour within that green is all the ore above 60%, so it's a really appealing iron ore asset that we're really excited about. All right. Over to our magnetite assets, so Kite and Kestrel. As I said, they're magnetite. We've had with Kite, with the drilling that we did last year, we had a mineral resource placed over that. Of something particularly important to Peak Iron is the DSO material, 7 million tonnes, which can potentially feed straight into our supply chain. That sits at 58% and is JORC compliant. So that drilling was done at a pretty investigative stage and was widely spaced. But of that, you can see in that cross section there, there's 5 metres below the surface or so, there's about 20 metres of a drill section of 20 metres at 66% massive magnetite. So it's really exciting. Those red wireframes on there are the DSO material above 50%, and all that green sort of contoured areas, everything above 30%. So it's a massive magnetite deposit. And then Kestrel, the same. It's 230 million tonnes. You can see the photo of it there. Both of these assets have got iron ore outcropping from the surface, and they're really exciting. A huge amount of previous test work's been done on Kestrel by other companies. This identified coarse grain soft iron ore capable of being upgraded to 66% magnetite concentrate. The characteristics are it has a P80 of 53 microns, favourable Davis tube recovery and iron recovery. So we drilled 3 diamond holes in Kite the last month and an additional 1 in Kestrel, which we will start metallurgical test work on in the next couple months. Looking ahead, the key focuses for us are obviously the safe start of mining at Buzzard, which will happen in the next couple months. We've just recently undertaken a UAV aeromagnetic survey, which you can see in the photos there, hoping to achieve some high-resolution magnetic imagery, which will be correlated with downhole magnetic susceptibility data, with the aim of better defining some of those DSO bodies within those 2 magnetite targets. We'll undertake an additional 10,000 metres of drilling in the next 12 months, metallurgical test work, as already said, and continued planning on the infrastructure concept studies associated with these magnetite targets. Thank you.